Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend DG Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a mullet. That's right, kids. It's that time again. Welcome back to another episode of Electric Mullet, the Superman podcast.
I just picture like his hair is
Exactly. Static electricity. Anyway, I am Phil. Joining me this time, it is number one Superman fan himself, Mr. Tyler Patrick.
Hey, what's up, Phil? Man, I hate that I missed last time, but we had some guests come over and they just were staying late and stuff. So,
hey, no problem. Says, well, again, Justin's under the weather this time. So, I mean, again, it's like, you know, we pick up for each other here. You know?
Yeah. Well, at least we someone will be here.
I don't know if it's just that time of year or if Mr. Justin's doing too much podcasting.
he's got gamma radiation poisoning.
Oh yeah.
That's why he's down. It's all that gamma he's in.
Mm-hmm.
He's got in his system. It's keeping him down. You don't know what to do.
Not in the 50 podcasts he's doing. All right,
True.
So this time again, since we got three episodes this month, we figured this would be a good time to do the World of Krypton, the World of Smallville, and the World of Metropolis. So, yes, this time we'll be covering the 4-issue World of Krypton miniseries, which again it'll lay some of the background here for stuff to come. So, as we see John Byrne's version of Krypton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very interesting, and as a whole, I'll say this: I feel like this story, kind of in a way, like I kind of wish it had more of an update to it. I know they did a World of Krypton-esque type story like a year or so ago, and it wasn't like this. But I guess got thinking like, in this story where it goes back so far, like that'd be a perfect way to tell a little bit of the history of Doomsday, because they talked about the ancient Kryptonians and stuff.
Yeah.
But considering this was written before that,
yes,
we don't. So I feel like I don't want to give too much away, but there's some interesting stuff in the story. We'll just leave it at that until we get there.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this issue by issue. Like, I just think John Byrne, he was looking for a different version of Krypton than what you got in like the Silver Age and stuff. Well, anything pre-crisis.
I'm not opposed to like where we get with the final issue. It's just some of the earlier stuff. I'm just kind of like, huh.
Yeah. It's weird because we kind of jump issues 3 and 4. We kind of jump forward and then forward some more. All right. Let's just open it up on the issue 1 on the app here. All right. So, World of Krypton #1. Well, it says Volume 2 #1 because I guess they did it like a World of Krypton. I think it was like a 3-issue mini. Was it like 1979 or something? Like they did what the Silver Age. So
I feel like it's just a title that keeps returning, but it's just for a new era each time.
Exactly. All right, World of Krypton #1, December 1987. Pieces. Writer John Byrne, penciler Mike Mignola, inker Rick Bryant, colorist Petra Scotes, letterer John Workman, and editor Mike Carlin. On Van L's day of passage, on which he becomes an adult, he races his friend Vara to Cantor Mountain, but Vara's craft flies too low and she crashes. He brings her to the hospital. While she's being treated, he has a run-in with Can Z. Can Z apologizes for his temper, and Van L checks on her on a recovered Vara and her father, 10R. Van-El returns home and learns his father, Ran-El, has been missing for 2 quarters. His mother, Ira, worries he has been killed because clone rights activists in Kandor have been started rioting. Ran-El, however, left before the rioting began on the advice of his friend Chan Yu and is safe to attend Van-El's party that night. During the party, Ran-El argues with his political rival, Gan M, who opposes the creation of mindless clones to harvest for body parts, a practice which Kryptonians have followed for thousands of years. Their argument is interrupted by Naira, Kanzi's mother, who announces her son's betrothal. However, Kanzi kills his mother, and it is revealed he had earlier killed his fiancée, Kyla, of the House of NR. We're really getting in this one.
Yeah, it's pretty dense.
Van-El and Ran-El go to the clone banks to investigate the double murder. They discover one of the clones made of Naira is missing. Naira herself ordered it to be moved, even though it is against the law, because she intended for the clone, the real identity of Kyla, to marry her own son.
Yeah.
Kanzi scheduled a public broadcast of all this information, including the fact that Kyla was allowed to form a mind and personality of her own. War breaks out. All right, so thoughts?
That is a dense story.
Yes. Well, again, we're setting a lot of groundwork here.
And my question is, why do we need this? Like, in all reality, like, just to talk about the 4 issues in a whole, that the 4th issue, like, is Superman, who, kind of got all this stuff almost. It's weird because this issue is like Jor-El is learning or relearning this story. And I'm like, you could have framed it like that. You could have had it open with Jor-El looking back at the history so that you could kind of give it to us in little chunks. But honestly, I'm reading this and I'm like, the biggest thing is about the cloning and everything, but I feel like so much of this is so far removed from anything. This is it's like a not so much a World of Krypton. It feels like it should be a book about the history of different Krypton mythology and lore and its people.
I just wonder if it's like John Byrne planned to bring a lot of this in, because again, even after he leaves, the teams like start using some of this stuff. Like, we do mention the clone stuff, and then during Exile, when we bring in the Eradicator, we kind of mention some of this history. But again, I don't know if it's just very. I think there's a reason we didn't do this in the main books.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of exposition, and you're telling a deep, very deep, intertwined story. For what? Like, it's like all this could have been summarized and kind of like how we get later, unless you were telling this story. But I mean, the artwork is good, but like some of the designs of like the clothing and what they're doing, it just, I don't know, just so bizarre. Like a
lot of them are like half, like half on clothes. It's like it's basically a toga party. So I don't know if like it's supposed to be like.
Well, I'm thinking it's 87. Phil, what else was out at around this time that was big and had half naked men?
What was it? Okay, you're stumping me. Tell me. I know I'll be like
He-Man.
Oh yes, Dolph Lundgren. Yes.
But I mean, just the He-Man property was, like around this time. So
yeah,
it feels almost kind of Masters of the Universe-ish, with some of their outfits and again, but some of the names feel just so forced. Like, all right, give them a 3-letter name and then throw a letter on the end.
Because at this point it's like the House of L is only L. It's not EL.
Yeah, like which was a very like that was more like post-crisis, early on, what later became Earth 2 kind of Superman.
I know it's thousands of years removed from like what from even Jor-El and stuff. But again,
and I think that's why I'm just kind of like, I don't care. Like,
I think I don't know if it's just like the whole toga thing was just like the kind of like contrast of what Krypton would become, as we'll see by like issue 3 and stuff.
But I just feel like it's the framing and the story style, because I feel like there's just so much in this about this is what Krypton was thousands of years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the next issue picks up or this and continues this.
Yeah.
And then when we get to issue 3, it changes. And then issue 4, it changes again. So
I almost feel like he's doing an analogy to like the Roman Empire, where it's like basically, you know, they supposedly over these thousands of years they evolve into, you know, where Jor-El and everyone's at, where they think they've achieved perfection, but then it all literally blows up in their face.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just feel like if that was the case, you could have told the story a little tighter and maybe done the story like where you have Kal-El kind of observing, but you also have Jor-El observing. So it's like you almost have these 3 points of view going on, where we see Jor-El looking into it, but then we also see Kal-El looking into it and what he's learning from this.
Yeah. Well, again, like you were saying, then they could use like a framing sequence each time. Like one issue could have been Jor-El studying those tapes. Another issue could have been the hologram Jor-El teaching Kal-El about this. And then the last issue could be what it was is, you know, Superman telling Lois this whole, you know, thing.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's what, because this just feels like, okay, this is the story we're going to tell over 4 issues. Oh, okay. And then the next one, that's where it is. And then the third issue, I'm like, whoa, what just happened? So, I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see, because I haven't read the Smallville or Metropolis one yet. I would bet it's probably more like along those lines. I bet you this much. Once it'll be interesting once we do all 3. I want, you know, we'll rank them. You know, where we, you know, which was our favorite and least favorite.
I'm game for that because this one just kind of had me like in this weird, like I'm reading this, I'm just kind of like, huh. Because I thought I had read this before, and I remember when Krypton the series premiered, it might have been the 2nd season. Like they released the first issue for free at comic book stores of this series.
Oh,
but it had a cover for the TV series, and I got thinking, like, you would have done much better releasing issue 3.
Yeah.
So, but I thought I had read this, but I had not. So
yeah. Again, I read this and I was like, oh, I read the first one. I'm like, is the whole series going to be like this? And then, what is it? I'd say by issue like the first 2, you take a radical shift once you get to like the issue 3.
Yeah,
like we were talking about, like the framing even and everything. I'm just like,
I mean, to be honest with you, it's one of those. It's so far removed where I don't really care, because I don't feel like I'm learning about Krypton that I'm interested in. That would
okay. It wasn't just me. Thank you. I was gonna say, if you, as big a Superman fan as you are, if you don't care, I'm just like, okay.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like you study even our history. Like I love studying like ancient cultures and things, but this just feels so. I don't know. It wasn't clicking, and I'm here like I'm already studying like something foreign, you know, Kryptonians, but this is like past the Kryptonians that we're even somewhat knowledgeable of. So it just feels so far removed that it doesn't even feel like it is Krypton.
At least they did this as like its own mini series. Like if you were reading the regular Superman books at the time, you could skip this if you wanted to. It wasn't in the main books, thankfully.
Yeah. I mean, I would be bummed, because I like stories when they go back and tell things on Krypton.
And again, I wonder too. I don't know if it was an editorial thing or what. But if they were like, oh yeah, we won 4 issues, because you could have told this in like 2 or 3.
Well, I mean, I think that's why it does the big change that it does.
Yeah, because I wonder if they were just like, oh yeah, we want these series of 4 issue miniseries, because by like say the late 80s and stuff, and even early DC and Marvel were both like, I think that was the model. Miniseries were usually like 4 issues. So
I mean, it makes sense. I'm looking something up here. I'm curious. Like I was saying, when did? Yeah, I was just curious because, like, I was. Anyways, yeah, keep going. I was just looking something up here.
All right. Yeah, I was gonna say, should we do the next issue?
Yeah, because I was just looking. I was curious because, like, when He-Man did officially like debut.
Oh, you mean the franchise in general or the movie?
Yeah, like.
Oh, the franchise itself was before this. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it'd be earlier, but I was like, it says the cartoon was 82 to 88, so
yeah.
I mean that's still right in the like this was 87.
I mean I think they had was it? Yeah, DC had to have had the rights to like the comic for a while because I think that's how they introduced He-Man. Yeah, it was like Superman team up in DC Comics Presents, like pre-crisis. Yeah,
because everything has that like, oh, this is popular, let's do this.
Yeah, and they kind of I at this point I don't know if they still had the He-Man rights, but yeah, they did at some point. So,
but issue 2, I don't know if I was buying comics back then and I bought that first one, and then issue 2 was coming out, I don't know if I would have bought it.
Yeah. Especially at that age, I'm like, I don't know if I'd be like, yeah, I don't know if I really need this. Nah. Yeah, it'd be like 9, almost 10. I'd be like, yeah, I don't think I need that next one. All right. So the second issue, World of Krypton number 2, same team. After the fall. Wow, this is a shorter synopsis. All right. 1,000 years have passed. Okay, kids, 1,000 years. Van-El marches through the destroyed landscape in his war suit. He finally reaches the remains of Kandor, which were destroyed at the beginning of the war by the Black Zero organization. Van-El's friend Vara later joined Black Zero and fought against Van-El on the side of the clones and their supporters. Van-El leaves the war suit and is immediately taken prisoner by a rebel operative. The rebel takes him to their base where Van-El introduces himself as the president of the World Council. He reveals Black Zero is back and they intend to blow up the whole planet. And that's issue 2.
I just feel like 1,000 years have passed. Like,
so I think they said it. So we're prolonging life with the clone parts, right? That's why we're going clones to prolong life. But I was like, didn't it say something like he was in that war suit for a while too? So I don't know if that was like keeping him alive too, because when he pops out and he can't walk or talk at first,
yeah,
it's just like, oh, he hasn't popped out of there in like 100 years or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this. I mean, this felt like a shorter story.
Well, yeah, I mean,
this issue
they packed so much info into that first issue, and then this one is basically just him like taking the tour of the devastation and stuff.
But I mean, it's just.
Oh yeah, it's so night and day, the first and second issue.
I do like because the first the first full page is like this desolate like tower, and it kind of mirrors the first full page of the last issue where you saw the beautiful buildings. And
well, yeah, that's what they do every issue in this. Yeah, that first page is like some kind of tower.
And I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's just once again, like he sees the war and just keeps going. And like, I just really feel like that's a whole story in itself of like basically the Clone War on Krypton.
Yes.
You know, but we're like, hey, here's a whole bunch about this. Then we're going to gloss over everything and move forward. And he's now in this war suit. And I'm like,
and we'll see this war suit throughout Superman comics going forward, kids.
Yeah. And I don't know, the devastation, and I don't know, this issue was almost weirder than the first issue, because this one makes you feel like, okay, so it's going to continue the story, but yet it's the sequel taking place 1,000 years later.
Mm.
And then the third issue is like really crazy.
And then this she says she's a doctor or something. This woman he comes across to at the end. I'm like, really? Even though she's older, you don't recognize her?
Yeah. And the whole, I don't know, Black Zero thing.
Yeah, it kind of seemed. Yeah, kind of. I guess we're getting the cliff notes, but yeah, we kind of skip over a lot.
It's like there was another mini series in there that we didn't get, which was actually the story in the war.
Oh yeah, Modern Comics would have definitely given us a couple issues that like on the front lines of the Clone Wars.
The first issue would have been 6 issues. This one would have been 6 issues.
Oh yeah, 6 issues of like the politics of Krypton, and then they come the clone. Oh my god, it's Star Wars. First we get all the politics, then you get the Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what it would have been, and we would have had the whole story, drug out. And we would have learned so much more about the clones themselves. We would have had a character that we find out that the real person died a long time ago, and this character's been the clone living their life the whole time.
And I am so surprised, even in the later issues, that we don't get a mention of General Zod at all.
Yeah, there is no Zod. They didn't know how to spell more than 1 letter in the first name, Phil. Maybe that's where the
true.
Z guys, like someone from his line, from the Z, became Zod.
Yeah. We'll get mention of Zod here soon. Don't worry, kids. Well, not even like never mind. But yeah, there wasn't a lot. Like again, it's just him torn to devastation until he finds like these.
I mean, it would have made more. It would almost make more sense if this started out with him in the war suit walking around, and now he's like dictating the story. Yeah. So then it's like he's going back, he's telling somebody the story, he's dictating it to his war suit as a recording, and we learn through flashbacks, instead of being so linear.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get that.
And then this is interesting too. I mean, this will eventually get retconned, but they're like, okay, Black Zero destroyed Kandor.
Yeah, I don't even know who destroyed Kandor anymore. It's too much.
Again, it's so weird because in the 90s we'll get a Kandor that's not even Kryptonian, where a guy keeps a bottle of aliens, and then by the early 2000s somehow they all evolve into Kryptonians. Yeah, it's yeah.
And then it's back, and then it's smashed.
But then I'm sure New 50, I can't remember by the time New 52 rolls around, I'm sure it'll be pure from Krypton again.
It was in Brainiac's ship. They took it, and then they had it, and then in in Bendis's Man of Steel, Rogol-Zar crushed it.
Oh yeah, we know. Me and Lil still complain about that. Yes,
Rogol-Zar, that sad attempt to force a character and to make him the new big awesome bad guy that did not work.
Bendis.
That was a big sigh from both of us.
And then the whole Jor-El thing. Let's not even get into that.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, let's keep going.
Damn.
So look, another tower.
Yes. All right. Number 3. World of Krypton that's what I said. Each issue starts with that. Yeah. World of Krypton number 3, February 1988. History lesson. Finally we get Jor-El. Jor-El studies the War of Clone Rights, which happened 1,000 years earlier. So now we're 2,000 years from where we begun in issue 1. His father
Pans have evolved.
What?
Pans have evolved.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It is interesting because they went from wearing like nothing clothes plights, and now they're like completely covered.
Except for their faces, yeah, everything's covered.
Exactly.
His father, Seg-El, arrives with Nara, who is the grandmother of Jor-El's fiancée, Lara, and the master of the gestation chambers, who has matched Jor-El and Lara together based on their near-perfect genetic matrix. In the past, Van-El leads an attack on the Black Zero Citadel that ends in an easy victory since Black Zero is unarmed. They head to the Central Assembly Hall, where Kan-Z is revealed to be the one behind the plot to blow up Krypton. He believes Krypton must be destroyed to atone for its sins against the clones. Vara, who turned her back on Black Zero after mainstream Kryptonian society stopped using clones as organ banks, tries and fails to reason with Kan-Z. Van-El retreats to his Kryptonian warsuit and destroys Black Zero's world destroyer, seriously injuring himself and Vara in the process. He is rescued by his son, Jan-El, and Jan-El's companion, Zan-R. Vara dies from her injuries. Yeah, that's right. That was the old lady. In the present, Jor-El receives the news of his betrothal in shock, and he offends his father and the master of the gestation chambers by asking to see an image of Lara. Nora decides to grant his request. Jor-El declares his fiancée beautiful. Man, talk about your arranged marriages.
See, I think that's so much of a more interesting story. Like, this would have been much interesting if it had started with just Jor-El.
Yeah.
In like the whole framing was Jor-El investigating and watching this history lesson, and we're getting little stuff of him cut into it. And then the end of issue 3 is where we see that it's actually kal-el watching Jor-El watching.
Yeah.
You know, like it's kal-el getting all this stuff downloaded into his brain or something.
Yeah.
Because this one's just more fascinating. Just the story is more fascinating. I mean, yes, we're back to Jor-El.
And then you could even like make a canon where it's just like, yeah, no, Jor-El just didn't, send him the hologram, and all the information because he was rocketed him off Krypton. Every generation of Els did this, where they basically, said, father left the son. Here's the history of the family. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because this is just, I mean, once again, we are with a character that we know.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting like the Segel. That's cool. I had forgot that he was actually named in the comics before the show. But then I was like, oh yeah, I remember reading that. It's one of those things like, how you know something, then you forget it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, I knew that.
Because one of those things, like, yeah, they mentioned it in like 1988, and then it's like they don't mention it for probably how many years.
And I mean, I find like him, like looking back and watching it is very Star Trek, like on the holodeck, getting and everything. I find that so much more interesting because I find this Jor-El interesting, just how he's being more defiant to the council, and but
I do find it funny that this is such an advanced civilization, but it's 1988, so we're still watching tapes.
I mean, yeah.
They say the word tapes, kids. No, I was like, should it just be like hollow image or what is some fancy name? Not,
but even like they're like the holodiscs and stuff like that, and now we're like beyond that even, and it's like, oh, it's like you gotta love the future past. That just that whole like we're watching Batman Beyond, and like he pulls like a data disc, it's just like a DVD looking thing. It's like, oh yeah.
What else, like people said, like Star Trek, The Next Generation, should they have to touch stuff even? Like the 24th century, should you have to touch anything?
I mean, you probably shouldn't, but then it's like, what do your actors do? It's like just
yeah,
like you just get like blinking, like,
or do like a 3D like keyboard, where it's not like a physical thing. Yeah.
It's like
a holographic keyboard. Yeah.
It's like it's that kind of technology that wasn't even thought up yet of like, oh, we can go even farther with this.
Exactly.
Because then it's the actors just sitting there like they look like they're swatting flies, and so like
so they had this stuff in. Yeah. But it's interesting too here because when they mentioned Jor-El and Laura's that they've been selected to mate, their genetic combination and stuff, and I guess so it's like, yeah, we're keeping Kryptonians alive for so long that it's like people aren't dying, so we're only creating a new life when someone dies of natural causes or something, or by some accident, or
so the idea of like new Kryptonian people is very rare. So like they're
they're not doing it every day.
It's very rare. It's the fact that like they're living, like you said, these longer lives, but they're not using. Basically, you have a whole generation of Kryptonians that were almost immortal because they were, like they said earlier, like using clone parts and things to stay alive.
Mm-hmm. But then by this era, then I think they're not using clone parts, but like Jor-El's era, they're like at birth they're fitted with these like containment suits. So
it's
And they're prolonging their lives, but I guess they said everyone basically just stays in their own little pod or, their own little home or whatever. And it's just like, why are you sustaining your life if you're not doing nothing? It's just like,
that is the world of Krypton that I want to see
yeah,
Perry explore. This very sterile, and I mean, there's so much little bit in this, and then what we get in the next issue of what Jor-El, like who he was and what he meant. That's the story I want.
mhm,
That's the story of Jor-El, kind of the rebel, the defier, the
yeah,
changing the status quo. And like that's the culture of Krypton that I would read multiple
yeah.
issues of to understand that
That's
this
what
was not a pleasant place.
Yeah, that's what we needed. 4 issues of Jor-El, basically he's the one with emotions and stuff because by his time it's like it seems like pretty cold, sterile place. They're really not into because again it seemed like such an odd request. He's like, well, can I see the woman I'm gonna have a child with? Can I just see an image of the woman I'm gonna have a child with?
Because having some juxtaposition of like Segel and Jor-El and him being raised and Jor-El basically being different as a child
Mhm.
and like starting to show, say, emotion or interest. And that's why he was obsessed with like his ancestors, is because they were a people of passion. Like,
Yeah.
and you could have had a story that really showed like Van El's passion and his drive and what that meant. And it's interesting because in the next one also Clark will reference that Van El was his like grandfather, like 2,000 years removed or something.
Yeah, something like
But
that.
that's not like, but still at the same time, is that with this whole like how long people stayed alive, is that like there was Van El, then Janel, then Segel, then Jor-El? You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah, yeah,
with
so
him being with the way that we just were introduced was how Kryptonians came to be. 2,000 years, but that doesn't mean like 2,000 generations. Like,
yeah, it's like could Van El have been like Segel's grandfather? I mean,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
um, but I do love, I do say that the final panel here, the face, I believe that Segel looking like with his teeth all grit, like showing, like, what are you determined to offend this gathering, Jor-El? Like his face is like, it's pretty funny looking. And then
Mhm.
her name is Lara. He said she is beautiful. And I feel like that, I mean, this final issue and like this whole story here, God, like that's what would have been so much, like this is the issue. Like
Mhm.
issue 4, like this is the issue that I feel this is what I wanted from learning of Krypton, because it makes Jor-El and Lara so much more tragic.
Yes.
And that's the story I would have liked to have seen.
Oh yeah.
Not just told to me by Superman,
Mhm.
but February of 88. Good year. Good month. That was
Yes.
woohoo, February. Yeah.
And we kind of see, I guess, at least his program survives. Kellex is who will show up again when we get a fortress here. The little robot.
I mean, they used to be green and now they're gold.
Yeah.
They evolved. They
But
really evolved.
But yeah, we could have used more Jor-El, maybe some Van El, but not as much as we got in those first 2 issues. We got
I
more
mean, if
Jor-El.
the first issue was even, like I said, it was just kind of, I don't know, like somebody talking. We're seeing the Van El story. Van El's telling, and then we see that it's Jor-El watching like a video recording and learning about it. I don't know. I just feel like all of a sudden just shifts to this weird, like there's so much density. Like it's even hard to draw like parallels of, is the Van El story paralleling other storylines? Because I'm like, I don't know, because there was so much there, but then
Yeah.
not enough detail for me to really extract like, oh, they're just telling us, that all these Kryptonian men are doomed.
And I wonder if this was always Burns' plan, or if they were like halfway through, they're like, yeah, we need more familiar path stones here. We need Jor-El. If you can throw in Superman, kal-el, yeah, let's do that, more of that.
So like, okay, guys, sales dropped after issue 2. What we got for issue 3? Jor-El, awesome. Yeah, we got to make this better. People did not like that first issue, and we already had issue 2 written, so that really went down. We need issue 3 to be better.
Exactly.
Because wasn't issue 3 also February of 88?
Hold on. Yeah, February 88 was issue. Yeah. No,
So 3
well, 2 was January. 3 was February.
and 4 is February.
Oh, is it? Let me see. Oh, here it's listed as March. Does the cover say February?
Yeah, here on the app it says 4 series. Yeah. Interesting.
Unless there's a typo or something. Yeah, because I'm looking at a picture of the original cover. It's saying March 88. So maybe DC Universe Infinite might have a typo or something.
Interesting.
But yeah, because according to this, yeah, it was month to month to month. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So should we get to the last issue?
Let's do it. This is the one, man.
Yeah. World of Krypton number 4, March 1988. Family history. All right. And then we're kind of to the present, which we'll see. We've kind of jumped ahead where we were in our reading here because I think because Superman saves the Daily Planet Tower from one of Professor Kilgrave's missiles.
Yeah, I thought about that, but then I was like, you know what? The Man of Steel storyline had no timeline that made sense either, so I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yes. Don't worry, we'll get to Kilgrave here eventually, kids. As Clark Kent, he meets Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen as they come out of the building. Clark passes along a message from Superman asking Lois to wait for him at her apartment that evening.
Superman.
Exactly. That evening, Superman tells Lois he wants her to write down the history of Krypton because he thinks Earth would benefit from it. He confides in her about the War of Clone Rights, Krypton's subsequent turn to genetic engineering, and his father's eccentricities that led Jor-El to fall in love with Lara without meeting her and visit their unborn child in the gestation chambers. Krypton was racked with earthquakes, and many Kryptonians began falling ill with the Green Death Plague. His service robots reported to Jor-El that 20 million Kryptonians died within the last half year. Jor-El came to believe that this all was connected to Black Zero's attempt to destroy Krypton 1,000 years ago. He ordered his child, still in his Matrix orb, to be brought to his laboratory. Lara arrived to confront him, and after he told her everything he had learned, again, this is kind of like mirroring what we saw in Man of Steel number 1. He revealed his plan to send Kal-El to Earth. Kal-El was launched into space just as the eruptions began. Kal-El does not know what happened after his rocket launched. Jor-El confessed his feelings to Lara as their world was destroyed. And Dr. Manhattan did not grab him. I don't care what you say. Lois is touched by the story, and Superman declares the real gift his father gave him by sending him away is humanity.
Which is, I'll say, which is great. I mean, this you could almost just hand someone this issue, like, "Hey, read this."
Yes,
and you would not really miss anything that from the past.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah,
and
I guess the mission statement for this and like World of Smallville and stuff. I guess like they're expanding on Burns expanding on what he did in the Man of Steel miniseries. I guess,
but once like we hypothesized that when we were reading, like, oh, that maybe the World of Krypton or all that would kind of help fill in the gaps. And I don't really feel like this one kind of did a little bit with just what happened when the ship was rocketed.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in the other ones, World of Smallville, and so I'm. But
okay, here's a question for you because Lilith and I were talking about this the other day. It's like, I mean, again, for the big ones, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. It's like when you do a new movie, do you need to do like a full origin of like Krypton, like a whole half-hour scene on Krypton still?
No, okay. I would do, and I think this would work great, is I would just, if I was doing a clean reboot, okay, I would start the first film. There's no Krypton at all. I would open the film up with him, a boy in Smallville, show some things, move to Metropolis, all that. And then that would be my first film. I'm not gonna give my whole plot idea away, but I've kind of mapped it out what I would do. And then the idea is if I was doing a trilogy of films, the second film is where I would open up on Krypton. And then it would be almost like a short film. 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes of the Krypton story, but then whatever I did in there would then affect what would go in the main part of the rest of the film. Be it the villain or some other storyline. And the idea would be that my first film would be, for lack of a better term, a grounded Superman film. And then my second film was more sci-fi. And it would be about him, as we've seen in other properties. The first film is, him coming with his powers, who he is, but not sharing who he is. And the second film was finding out, finding out more of his history. Green Death has me. And I feel like that's kind of something that would be fun to do. So that we could get to the Krypton stuff, but we're not basically repeating the same steps as Superman the movie or Man of Steel, where it's like Krypton, then Earth, and so on.
See, I was saying, like, at first I was saying, oh, maybe just do like a quick montage of Jor-El shooting the rocket off and it flying through space and landing in Smallville, like as like a montage during the opening credits or something. But like your plan, like if you do like you're saying, like first movie, maybe he doesn't even know where he comes from, like Byrne had him doing for a while, and then like in the second movie, he comes across partway through the movie, like Jor-El's, hologram or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, even look at the more recent My Adventures with Superman, where he didn't understand who or what he was, or he's still not sure about what Krypton is.
Yeah.
And I feel like doing the movie, you want to do something a little bit different, but you still want to give people the things they expect. And I feel like if you can do the whole first movie without anything Kryptonian other than himself and his rocket, and then and even then, like I said, I don't want to give away my whole story idea, but the second film would be much more of your sci-fi film. So like so if you look at it, the first film is kind of an ode to the golden age in the sense that it's more grounded and everything. The second film's more of the silver age, where it's going to get a little bit more crazy sci-fi and so on. So
again, you just have to like wrap it up, like repackage it in like clever ways, because again, it's like everyone knows Superman's origin, the destruction of Krypton, everyone knows Spider-Man, Uncle Ben, everyone knows whose parents get shot, Batman.
Well, I mean, you think about it, like in '89, it was kind of a quick flashback.
Yes.
In BVS, it was like a montage kind of flashback. Batman Begins is really where we got the scene.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Gotham TV series, we really got the scene. And then in The Batman, it's just like a news article that's in the background that just kind of is telling you what happened.
Yeah.
So it's like we're getting the information without having to continually relive that. So
well, we talked about that too. It's like the whole stupid making Joker the killer of Bruce Wayne's parents was, not, we didn't like that. But when we like Mask of the Phantasm, that's good. If you want to make Joker part of Batman's like past somehow, Mask of the Phantasm,
that worked.
Better way to go. Yeah.
I luckily I actually just won a digital copy of Mask of the Phantasm.
Ooh.
Because I just found out yesterday. I was pretty excited about that. I was like, all right, sweet. And I watched the Kevin Conroy tribute kind of documentary that was on it. I still plan on picking up the 4K release at some point.
Oh, hey, you know what I just picked up? My DVD of The Crow finally gave out, so I went on Amazon.
Nice.
$10. I got a Blu-ray, and it came with a digital code. $10.
Nice. Yeah. So there's a little side story. I was gonna buy it was like $30 some for the 4K of Mask of the Phantasm, right? But they had Batman the Animated Series on sale, the complete series on Blu-ray for like $60 some, but that comes with Mask of the Phantasm and Batman Sub-Zero.
Oh, really?
So you get basically a Blu-ray copy of Mask of the Phantasm, the Blu-ray copy of Sub-Zero, and the entire Batman Animated Series restored on high definition for Blu-ray. And I'm like, that I told Janine, I was like, I don't know which one to buy because I feel like that's much more of the value than just the one film on 4K.
Yeah.
If you want, people leave a comment below what you think I should do. Just because, like, I've long said I actually prefer to watch Batman the Animated Series on DVD because of how they did the black paper.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
have on DVD. Yeah.
The up transfer into Blu-ray just looks a little too smooth and bright. Now it's different for Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
Those on Blu-ray look great, but for the original Batman the Animated Series, I actually prefer the DVD.
Oh yeah, I still pop in the DVDs. Yeah.
All right, back to this. Can we say that if you go to page 6, if you're looking at it, where Superman at the top panel has the roses, if you look in the bottom corner, that looks like Billy Batson Shazam, not Superman. That smile on his face and everything.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, because she's going, oh yeah, I mean, I'll confess it only to you, but Clark start wearing me down.
But where he says he was my grandfather 1,000 generations removed. I feel like that kind of contradicts everything we just learned about Kryptonians basically living forever.
It should be like 1,000 years removed, or so, or 2,000 years removed. Yeah.
But I like that he's kind of like this. This whole issue kind of sums up everything we're kind of been talking about with the history of the Kryptonians, and then how his father basically fell in love with his mother. And that was not something that ever happened. And I feel like that's such more of a story to tell about, what do you call it? That's the story that we deserve. That's the story we should have.
Oh, and also, I mean, for those of you who want to know, yeah, this is the point, issue 4 here. For the first time in post crisis continuity, Lois finds out his birth name was Kal-El.
Yeah, which I think is interesting because this is an off if you're like you said, like you've referenced, like if you're just reading the Superman comics, you might not read this. That's when she finds out his name is Kal-El, and she finds out more about Krypton. But I love we get back to, we kind of at the end of this, when we're learning the Jor-El story, we get kind of almost, I didn't pull up Man of Steel and kind of do page by page look, but it shows once again, like see for yourself, a nation called America and a subsection called Kansas.
Yeah.
And the whole, oh my God, the savage, he bears his naked flesh. And I just feel like having they're basically meeting for the first time, right here, and they're sending their son off. I feel like that's the story, that, and I think that's one thing the film Man of Steel highlighted was they took it a step further by making Kal-El the first natural birth. And not just, I think it hits harder the story of Lara and Jor-El and who they are.
But yeah, I think some of those last couple pages, I mean, at least dialogue, it's like a straight pull from the Man of Steel #1.
It shows you kind of where it would fit in if you were reading it. You're like, oh, that's right. I mean, it's kind of like, it really is. He pulls Kal-El out. She walks in. They're talking. This is what's going to happen. And then they send him off. And it's basically their first encounter together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And his final words, and even though we die, I am content to do so as long as we die together, for I have always loved you. Like, that's the story, man. Like, that's the story I want from this World of Krypton. I want to know about Jor-El and how he kind of defied things and he changed things, and having the I think it's unique, the green gas and everything that's supposedly killing Krypton in this, tying back to that Black Zero from Van El era. I think that works, but there's so much in that Van El story you could have just ejected and made this a tighter, really almost like the whole thing is like Jor-El going through history to try to figure some things out, falling in love with Lara, going through all of that. And then, at the very end, we find out that it's kal-el absorbing this.
Yeah, and again, I guess it's good they kind of mentioned the clone stuff, because coming up with stuff, once we get Cadmus and stuff, they kind of play with that, because Superman, I know he mentions at least once or twice, he's like, yeah, he's kind of uneasy with cloning because of everything that happened on Krypton and stuff.
Which I think is a great story. I mean, one of these things looking back, like once again, you start messing with genetics and you get cloning. If you were to write this now with these ideas, you could definitely hint at like the Kryptonian deformity that would one day be Doomsday. You could talk about what cloning did and how they cloned and created Doomsday. And then the idea of when they're trying to make Connor, like how scared, like he comes out of like the clone because he's expecting, after having fought Doomsday, like I think there's so much more.
There's so much you could do with hindsight, because even think about this. He's telling the story of Jor-El and Lara to the woman who's going to be his future wife.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's great. And like the whole thing's like, he gave me humanity. Like he gave me something that, I would never have, because had grown up on Krypton, I would have been part of that sterile society. So I like the 4th issue a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's definitely the best one. But again, too, it has Superman.
Yeah, but if you would have started lit off with Superman, watching Jor-El, and go from there, it would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, I guess they wanted to get into the burns Krypton like as quick as possible, but I'm like, I don't know. It maybe would have made more sense if they would have waited till he had a fortress, and I don't know, Kal-El was watching all this stuff.
Yeah, you could have done a great parallel, like.
Yeah.
If you look back, I think it's in this one where
he's studying the history logs like his father did, and
and like this, where we see Jor-El, I think it's in the last one, where you see him sitting there, kind of just in his chair, even on the cover, like in his chair, kind of.
Oh yeah, the cover of 3, yeah, he's sitting there in the chair, and the whole big, yeah.
And you have Kal-El in his fortress, kind of doing the same thing.
Like.
Yeah, the second page of issue 3, where it's him sitting in his chair looking at something, you could mirror, since they like to always open up with, a tower symbol. You kind of have similar, the first couple of panels is Jor-El sitting in chair with Helix, and you could do the same thing with Kal-El sitting there, and then he flies out and he goes to talk to Lois. And
would have been a good image, even like a powerful image, if you would have done like one splash page, if they would have done it that way. So it's like you kind of have Jor-El and Kal-El face to face. As Jor-El's watching the screen and Kal-El's watching the other screen, but they're like,
they're watching the same thing. Like,
yeah.
Look at us, like, yeah. And it could have
just looking across time.
Yeah, honestly, I would have ejected like the first couple pages of this with the whole Clark Kent thing and Jimmy Olsen and him even saving the rocket. I would have got rid of that and just started it off with Lois showing the Daily Planet, and then Superman flying out, like or not even the Daily Planet. Started with a shot of the fortress as your image.
Yeah, we don't have a fortress yet. No, yeah.
So this Clark Kent, it's him in the fortress, and then it's showing up on Lois's balcony, and then going through this whole rest of the issue. I'll probably get a hate letter from John Byrne in my email. Like, how dare you rip apart my masterpiece?
No. John Byrne's done a lot of good stuff, but there are people who pick apart his stuff.
I'm not really. It's just kind of like you said, in hindsight, like you look at like, oh man, the other stories that come and how things tie together, and it's just kind of comics, in general. And so,
yeah, because I'm trying to remember. I think, I forget how long it is, but yeah, he leaves, and I think he goes. I think that's when he goes back to Marvel and does like some of the Avengers stuff. But yeah, So I think he was doing the Fantastic Four and stuff. Then he jumps over here, does Superman stuff. Then he jumps back to Marvel, does like Avengers and West Coast Avengers. So he was jumping back in the 80s. He was just like back and forth, back and forth.
That's John Byrne.
Yep.
But no, I'm looking forward to it. I like I like these mini series that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, like I said, we'll have to see how the other two compare to this one.
I'm kind of nervous and like intriguingly excited at the same time. Like I did read through, but I mean it's been a couple years, but it feels like it's one of those when you're doing a lot of comic assignments and stuff like this.
Yeah.
You read stuff and then you're trying to read the past while keeping up with the future. I don't like. I read the World of Metropolis, but I don't remember it. Like
I was able to pick up one random back issue of it. So yeah, I mean, from what I remember, it was a tale of like I think it was like when Clark first comes to Metropolis. So
I know I've not read any of the Smallville. I'm 100% open about that. Like I know I haven't read those, but I did read some of the Metropolis stuff. I just don't remember it. It's been at least 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, we'll have to see where the Smallville stuff. I mean, I know Lon is at least on one of the covers. And I think
maybe some Pete.
Maybe, yeah. I can't remember when they bring Pete into this continuity, but I wonder. They might even get into Manhunters and stuff because I think Millennium is coming up in DC around this time. So I don't know if they get into like Manhunters and stuff. So remember that, kids, when everybody had at least one supporting character turn out to be a Manhunter?
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be a fun read.
Yep. All right, Mr. Patrick. Anything else?
Nah, I'm good. Like, I think the World of Krypton's a cool book, but I don't think that any of the series have really nailed it yet.
Yeah. I mean, maybe go back to like Jor-El, maybe even like Segel, but before that, it's like, do we really need to know Krypton 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago?
I think only in like a passing kind of story time thing. I don't need to dig into it.
It doesn't need multiple issues yet.
But yeah, that's it. That's where I stand.
All right. Yeah, me too. All right. So yes, kids, next week we'll do World of Smallville, and then in 2 weeks we'll do World of Metropolis. So yeah, send us your thoughts on that. So we'll dig into those this month.
October is a good time for a mullet.
All right. So yes, kids, send us your thoughts on all that. And again, we'll keep going in order from where we left off before. So yeah, send us all your Superman thoughts in the late 80s. Email us CapesandLunatics@gmail.com or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-Capes. And remember, you can find all things Capes and Lunatics episodes, social media, merchandise, the Patreon, where last month Tyler and I reviewed the movie Mystery Men from 1999, and then the month of October, Lilith and I will be ranking this famous Scream queens.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
All your favorite horror, yes. So yeah, so you can find all past episodes. So yeah, find everything at tubespace.io/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. That's tubespace.io/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. All right. And now, if you want to hear more Tyler Patrick talking more Superman, where can they get that, Tyler?
Check out Krypton Report. This month has been a little slow, October, just because we had a lot of stuff going on in our personal lives. So we're a little behind in schedule, but you can check us out wherever podcasts are and on all social media platforms.
That's all right. You can catch up on years of content this man is giving you on Superman.
Yeah, it's a lot.
All right. Oh man, I need more Tyler drops.
Yeah, you do.
I do. I can't even remember where my Tyler drops at. I only have like one, I think. Oh, here, yes.
I'm tired of knowing everything.
That does sound like me. Genia can attest to
Tired
that.
of knowing everything.
Hello, Lois. All right, kids. Thank you for joining us. Again, in 1 week, the world of Smallville. And in 2 weeks, the world of Metropolis. Our friend Mr. Justin the Owl should be up and around by then. And maybe we'll even get an appearance again at some point by the Mr. James Cole.
We'll put it out there. We'll get him back.
Oh, that's right. You know what? In one of these, maybe next episode or the one after, we might even get a guest joining us, Mr. Connor McKenna, another Superman expert.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I know he wanted to join us because he was going to join us this week. I guess something came up, so I was like, yeah, no.
I mean, it could be, time.
That's true. Time zones.
Mhm.
All right, kids. Remember, come back next up for Truth, Justice, and the Mullet Way.